Hey there, friends. This is Bill MacDonald, the reading and writing doctor here today. And here's another sneak preview of our CREST online trainings, the 5-part series that begins being released this coming Monday on my birthday, June 20th. And then once a week, you'll get a new edition. We'll be starting with trying to figure out how to put my hand here. We'll start with the editing, which you saw a sneak preview on just a little bit on yesterday. Part 2 will be revising, which you're going to see today. So editing is improving the conventions. Revising is improving the content. And with editing, we used a hand. With revising, I'm going to show you how to do it using an arm. The third part is going to be the constructed response questions, which will be worth 1 or 2. It's like the new item types of basically 9 or 10 different ways. We already pretty much have a handle on how to do multiple choice, but I'll be showing you some of those as well as part of the training. The fourth online training is going to be the short constructed response, which is always going to be worth 2 points. And our fifth one will be our extended essay response. So when you're revising, you're improving the content of a passage by adding a, removing R, replacing R, or moving content around. And you can read the entire passage first, and that's great, but some kids are not on the passage level or the paragraph level. They're on the word, the phrase, the line, the sentence, the combining sentences, the transitioning between sentences before you add a sentence to a whole paragraph or add a sentence to a whole passage. So I came up with a graphic organizer several years ago when I saw the revising scores go so low where it can combine the reading world and the revising world. And so I want to show that to you today. All of the tons of you who have ordered all 5 trainings, I'm going to be sending out. If you haven't received it yet, I'm printing some more today so that I can send them out to you by tomorrow for all the ones who have ordered so far. Some of you have already received them, but I'll send the rest of these classroom sets of advanced English language arts and reading writing folders and a classroom set of graphic organizers. They're in 11 by 17. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you so you can see what that looks like. So on top, it does say advanced ELAR writing folder, and it used to say write prescription, may the 4s be with you. But now because of the extended essay portion, I'm going to say may the 5s be with you. And it has nothing to do with Star Wars anymore. But we've done a hand to pretty much answer any kind of question. We've done a hand to do editing with cups with 2 S's. And so whenever we talk about a passage, all 3rd through 9th grade teachers are going to receive 2 passages of editing and 2 passages of revising. And what we learned in yesterday's video was that the extended essay portion is going to be worth up to 4 points out of the possible 10. So in addition to the 2 passages that are going to be editing questions where you fix one sentence or two sentences if it has to do with um, sentences followed by fragments or fragments followed by sentences. When you're fixing the organization or the development of a passage, you're doing what's called revising. So if you think of your eyeballs and you say, okay, I need some glasses. Well, when you have glasses, the way you see now is going to be different than the way you're going to see later. You're going to see better later. So revision means that you're going to fix the content by using your arm, by adding the color green, something that goes in to the introduction, the body, or the conclusion of a passage, by removing red and replacing green. Sometimes you just remove something content because it doesn't belong there and it stays out, but sometimes you remove something that's too vague or not the correct idea, and you'll replace it with a better one. And again, that will be somewhere in the introduction, the body, or the conclusion where you'll remove it. The last thing for arm yellow is don't take it out. Don't add anything new to it. Just move the order in terms of the organization without changing the content or the meaning. Or if they give you a box sentence in a passage, you're going to get two passages of revising. If they give you a box sentence, what they're going to do is they're going to say, whatever's inside this box, usually a sentence, we want you to add it somewhere. So you're either going to add a word, a phrase, a transition, a sentence, and or sentences because of the moving part. One of the skills of revising is saying, let's take this sentence here and this sentence here and combine them. So what you're doing is you're not adding, removing, or replacing, you're just moving these sentences together by playing the song that I call Come Together Right Now. And all you're doing is combining them without changing the meaning or the content by using some grammatical skill or content organization skill. And we're also going to see two other arms when I show you the graphic organizer. If your kids struggle with reading, then you're going to slow life down. They say that life happens at full speed, comma, but reading and writing happen in slow motion. And so if there's a sequence of an event that's either in a fictional story, in a poem, which we often see, in a play, because it has a series of things being said by actors, or literary nonfiction, where you have basically something that actually happened in a certain order. Well, whenever they do have the characters doing things and saying things, well, let's slow life down and do an arm that says actors remember more what? More sequence, the order of the actual details that I call dum-dums, or the smarties that I call sentences, because they're not going to ask about the whole passage most of the time. They're just going to ask about one paragraph or one sentence or one little section. What if you're having trouble with imagery? You're having trouble painting a picture. Well, we can also slow life down and say that artist. So if I say actors, I'll do that. Remember, pointing to my head, more pointing up, and sequence means the order. If I say artist, I'll pretend to draw, remember more senses, and I'll just hold my hand still. The 5 senses help you understand the setting that's being established inside a paragraph or a passage. So how do you turn this into a graphic organizer? When you're doing revising of content, I'll show you in a minute. I just want to make sure you understand that when you're writing the extended essay response, you're going to get up to 3 points in terms of the organization and the development of it. So if you look over here on the left, when you're doing your extended essay response, once you answer the question, that's part of the organization. But in order to turn what I would call this 1 into a 2, where are you going to show me where you got the answer in terms of the line or lines, scene or scenes, stanza or stanzas, sentence or sentences, section or sections, paragraph or paragraphs, or why using the evidence? Why is it the answer using evidence? Or you can tell me why it's the answer putting the evidence in quotations. They don't really care how you do it, as long as you do it one of these ways. They just want to know why you chose your controlling ideas and central idea thesis. So if any of those things are missing in terms of the idea, the location, if you want to call it that, the evidence, or the development when you explain your examples and your evidence by getting pretty specific using what I call the 6 W's plus 1, the who, what, when, where, why, which, and how, which you saw on how to answer any question, then you'll be able to say, oh, I looked at your essay and there was something missing, so you're going to have to add it. Or there's some evidence that doesn't really belong in your response, so you need to remove it. If there's nothing of the evidence that belongs, then we're going to have to remove the evidence because none of it supports it, and we'll have to replace it with evidence that actually ties to our thesis, central idea, controlling idea. Or sometimes we might just change the order. We'll move things around to improve their response. And that is basically ARM. So what I have here is I drew a hand, because as we learned, we're going to have a hand on test day. And basically this is a glorified graphic organizer that a student can do by hand on paper to help them understand revising. So it's the 6 points that I can earn from 2 different people on answering the question, giving textual evidence, and explaining, developing the response. And if both people agree that I've done those 3 things, then I'll get 3 plus 3 equals 6. So that's 60% of the grade is the organization and the development of your ideas that we talked about earlier. So you do need a thesis. You do need a central idea statement or a controlling idea statement, or you do need a position if you're talking about a persuasive passage. So I put these things in my palm for a reason, because my palm of my hand is, I need to find out, is the question just asking me about one paragraph in the passage? Or is it asking me about the central idea, the thesis, or the position, or the focus of the entire passage? So let's take a look. When I take this hand and flip it upside down, there you see my hand-drawn arm, and we have some bracelets with the different colors that you see. And so think of this arm as a sequence ladder of starting with something simple and then going to the ones that are more difficult, because I don't want your students failing because they're trying to answer questions above the ladder, which are about an entire passage or the entire paragraph. Let's look for questions that ask them to add, remove, replace, or move one word. And usually you're doing that because the word is too vague and you want to make it S more specific. What phrase or line are they asking me to add, remove, replace, or move? Because that's just a little bit bigger than a word. You're trying to improve the content. Which two sentences am I moving together? If they say, how can sentence 14 and 15 be combined? They want you to take a look at the content of sentence 14, the content of sentence 15, and play the game, come together right now, and figure out which one has the best way of combining them in some grammatical or content specific way. The next level is, what about transitions from one sentence number to the next sentence? What word or phrase can I use? And if you write down page 251 and 252, it has about 100 to 150 transition words and phrases that you can use to transition from a sentence to another sentence, from a paragraph to another paragraph, or if we're doing the reading and you're having to compare and contrast across passages, you're going to have to see how the passages are the same and how they're different. We need to go from a cause to an effect, a compare to a contrast, a conflict to a resolution, an action to a reaction. And so because of that, sometimes they give you the effect, and then whenever they ask a question, like in reading what was the cause, they're asking for the reason. And so what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to look at sentences and say, okay, well, there's the cause and there's the effect. What transition do I need to connect those two sentences? Or here's one idea, one main idea in this paragraph, and this paragraph has a different main idea. What transition can I use to connect them? It's sort of like saying, if I have my shirt here and I have my pants here, what belt sentence can I use to connect those two ideas? Then the most difficult, if you're trying to add a whole sentence to a paragraph, that's that green, or remove one to a whole paragraph. Well, you can number the sentences of the paragraph. Right here we have 1 through 5, or 6 through 10, or 11 through, you can put whatever number sentence, because in revision and editing, they actually have sentence numbers all the way through the passage for you. So you can just plug in the sentence number based on which paragraph they're talking about. And so if you have 6 or 7 or 8 sentences, then you could technically add 2 or 3 more fingers for those other ones. So if they're asking you to add a sentence that say, what sentence could be added to clearly state the topic sentence of paragraph 3? So you'd look at paragraph 3, and since the topic sentence is at the top, it's sort of like switching your hand so that your thumb is up like this and saying, okay, the first sentence in a paragraph is sometimes called the topic sentence, also known as the main idea. And I've noticed that on most revision questions, every time they're asking for a topic sentence for a whole paragraph or a main idea for a whole paragraph, apparently the students struggle because they don't realize that this topic sentence slash main idea has to tie in, T-I-E-S, everything in a paragraph ties together, ties the topic, the ideas, the events or the explanation, and the specific supporting sentences, everything ties together. And last but not least, well, I have one more after this. They might ask you a question, what sentence could be added to clearly state the focus of the story, or the central idea of the expository informative passage, or the thesis of the expository informative passage, or the position of the persuasive passage. So those are all the kind of questions that they can ask. And that means that if I touch the center of my hand, whatever focus sentence or central idea, thesis, or position I pick, I better be able to feel all of my muscles moving, because it has to be tied into everything in the introduction, the body, and the conclusion in order to be the best thesis. It can't be only about uh, paragraph 1 or paragraph 2 or section 1 if you put a couple of paragraphs together, section 2, section 3, section 4, section 5. You can usually break a passage down into sections and be able to figure out, okay, what's the main idea for each section, what some of you call hashtagging. The last kind of sentence that I might ask you to think about is, they're going to sometimes in revision give you a box sentence, and it's going to have a question that will say, where can this sentence be placed inside paragraph 1 or 2 or 3? So again, you would write paragraph, you would write the word paragraph inside the hand palm that you would draw, and you would write down the sentence numbers that are there. So if this was sentence 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and they gave you 4 choices, then it would probably be A, B, C, or D, or it could be possibly A, B, C, or D. It'll say add that box sentence after sentence 6 or before sentence 6, after sentence 7, after sentence 8, before sentence 8. So your kids have to be able to know how to go backwards, and they're just gonna, wherever they tell them, they're gonna put A, B, C, or D between the fingers to figure out where is the best place to insert the sentence that's in a box right now. So one more thing that I want to show you is, since I've been doing this so long, I've been paying attention ever since tax and star to all of the revision. And on pay, you're going to get this as part of your packet. If you purchase the revision, you'll get a page if you just do the revising. And this is basically every revising question, keyword strand that's ever been asked since star and tax has started. And so it's like the keyword that your kids could be asked in terms of the arm, the word, the phrase, the line, the combining sentences, the transitioning between two sentences or two paragraphs, or adding a sentence to a paragraph, or adding a, removing or replacing a sentence in a whole passage. So the cool thing about that is your kids will get used to you asking them on their extended essay response, which sentence could be added to strengthen the thesis. Okay, well, that sounds pretty close. If you look, I'm gonna get my little annotation spotlight here. That was question number 1. Which sentence could be added either to clearly state the central idea, controlling idea, thesis, or position, or let's say you want to improve it. What word or phrase could be added to improve the thesis? And so if you already have the binder, you'll be able to practice the 2 passages of revising by looking at page 232 of the binder. So that does it for our 3rd sneak preview of revising content by adding, removing, replacing, or moving content around, whether it's using your concept of your arm, your word, a phrase or a line, a combining of 2 sentences only, a connecting two sentences by figuring out the cause and effect relationship, the compare and the contrast relationship, the conflict resolution. They're going to ask you probably to add a sentence that better connects two sentences in a transition relationship between two sentences, S, or two paragraphs, S. In revising, they're never going to ask you to add something to connect two passages. That only has to do with reading, so you'll never get a question like that. So do me a favor, share or tag someone who might be interested in any 3rd through 10th grade reading teacher who's interested in learning how to improve the content by revising it, doing revisions using the acronym ARM. Now, some of you have and are using the word substitute. So instead you're using ARMS, and you saw my blue bracelet had an S, and you can use it if you want to, but so far, ever since I've read every revising question that's ever been given to any of the writing grades, the word substitute has never been used. And so I would probably suggest that once you receive the 25 advanced ELAR writing folders, that you go ahead and use ARM singular instead of ARMS, unless you're talking about actors remember more sequence using an S, or artists remember more setting, the, the, the what you see and hear and taste and touch and smell by drawing a little picture. So I'm hoping that those of you who are still in the decision process will sign up for editing and or revising, or whichever 2, 3 you want that you feel will help you as a teacher in all subject areas. All of you who sign up for all 5, as I mentioned, just enter a quantity of 4, and the 5th one will be sent for free. When you're checking out of the store, make sure that you have the correct physical address, the correct email when you're checking out of the store, so that I can send you digital copies of everything that we do. I'll send you links to the videos once a week. I'll be sending you it's going to be in 2 to 3 parts, because like I said, each session, each online training of the 5 is going to be around 4 to 6 hours. So I'll be putting them so that you don't get brain dead in 2-hour increments. And so if I can finish it in two video sessions like that, I will. Or if I need 3 sessions, I'll put it in 3 sessions. So each week you're either going to receive 2 videos and sometimes 3 for each lesson, so that you can again have them recorded, save them to your computer, and watch them on your own time throughout the summer. So you can actually enjoy your summer vacation with friends and family. You can repeat watching them over and over. For those of you that I had already sent the folders, I'm going to go ahead and send you another class set, because I made a few changes, made a few improvements on the folders. So I'll send you a digital copy today or tomorrow, and I'll send you a hard copy if you already got them. And there's going to be several of you. You'll get 2 sets. So there's not many changes, but I just, when I looked very closely at all of the short constructed responses that were 2-point questions in all subject areas, and all of the extended responses, I wanted to make sure that my advanced folder matched up with those new item types as closely as possible so that it would be a valuable tool to add to your teaching toolbox, regardless of what subject you teach. So take care. God bless. Feel free to share or tag this video. Email me at the word writing underscore doctor spelled out DOCTOR at yahoo.com, or message me if you're watching this on Facebook. Um, Email me if you're watching this on my YouTube channel. If you don't already have the link to sign up for 1, 2, or 3, if you only sign up for 1, 2, or 3 sessions, make sure when you are checking out, you write in the comments or notes section which 1, 2, or 3 you're signing up for $50, $100, or $150. But it seems to be that most of you are signing up for all 5, so you can get that discount of $50. And I'll keep that special going for anyone who purchases before the end of this month in June. If you're watching this video right now, this is just a free sample for everybody, because I want to help people. But sometimes people want to know what they're getting before they get it. So hopefully that was helpful. Be sure to, again, share or tag your teacher friends. This one was content specific for reading teachers, but anybody who's going to be asking kids to write and complete sentences would want to teach kids to add something, remove something, replace or move something in that sentence or sentences, because even pre-K and kinder students should be able to write up to 3 to 5 sentences by the end of the year. That's what I would call my age or more to get a good score. So the older you are, the more you're going to be able to add to your ability to write, in my philosophy. So take care. God bless. Enjoy your summer.